And a very good afternoon to you across the world on a YOU ORNS post-match on X and live as well on Instagram. Welcome aboard for the Watford supporters to the YOU ORNS post-match. Yours truly, Omar here. And it is a Watford victory that we're talking about. Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. Our home form continues to shine. And listen, we didn't do it perhaps in the way that a lot of us would like to see, but a win is a win and still unbeaten at the Vic this season. Matt from a YouTube land says, come on, you Orns, unbeaten home run continues. Getting there. Yes, indeed, Matt. It is great to have you aboard, Matt, and everyone else watching and listening here on YouTube and watching as well around the world. And those of you on X, thank you very much indeed for joining here on X. Your comments as well are welcome. Please hit the request button on X or type your comments in if you would prefer. Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0, the final score, as the goal came from Kayembe actually in the 71st minute from our only shot on target, it turned out. That was the penalty spot. Kayembe's fifth of the season for Watford, all in the championship. Give Watford all 3 points today. A game in which they weren't at their best, but we're back to winning ways, and that's all that counts in the championship. Or Tom Cleverley put down an edict this week. He wanted this team to return to the top six by the time we got to the next international break. Well, right now we're on 7th at the minute after this one, before the rest of the championship plays its games today. And I can say that this performance, while it wasn't a great one, got the job done. Listen, Blackburn probably will go back up to Lancashire thinking that they got robbed, but they just didn't do enough. They didn't have the killer edge and the cutting instinct. Blackburn had many more chances than we did, but their end product wasn't good enough. And that's why Watford ended up winning the game. Watford took the only chance that they had, which was Edo Kayembe's from the spot. I mean, that's really the difference in the game. I mean, yes, the goal came against the run of play, but if you don't do enough with the possession that you got, you're not going to win these games. And so Blackburn, who scored just 4 times away from home this season, showed you why they're not very good away from home. And don't forget, Blackburn played one day after Watford did, and Blackburn still had to travel all the way up from Lancashire, all the way down to Hertfordshire. So, look, I'm not providing any excuses at all, but the bottom line is Blackburn, who started the day in 6th place, should have actually found the goal several times. Daniel Batman looked very shaky in this game. You know, I mistakenly thought that he did well on that first half opportunity that Blackburn had, but he was well at fault for it. Even Troy Deeney on the air here in the United States, at least, was critical of Daniel Batman, said it was really poor goalkeeping from him in that first half from that shot. So, you know, Troy Deeney, a former teammate of Daniel Batman, turned pundit now, has criticized Daniel Batman for that opportunity that Blackburn still missed. It's incredible that Blackburn didn't score in this game. If you look back at all the opportunities that Blackburn had, they should have put one away in this contest, and they did not. But listen, you and I don't give a rat's about that. All we care about is the 3 points we got today. It is very early in the morning. Maybe I shouldn't be shouting so much and so loudly here in San Francisco. It is 6:30 in the morning, and it's still dark outside, as you would expect at that time of morning, at this time of year. Blackburn had 53% of the possession, as Watford had 46% plus of it, 47. And look, the bottom line is that we just got the job done where we needed to. And I thought today there were some really good players on the pitch for us. Despite the fact we didn't play well, I think that didn't perform well necessarily in a lot of the game. I think individually, the players were very good. Eberselli was brilliant. Barr was excellent. Barr got that penalty in the first place, didn't he? His marauding run down that right side, and then the ball that he crossed in, and the flick on from Bio, who looked good coming off the bench, and then that ball off Bio clearly hit the outstretched hand, upward palm of the Blackburn player. And that was the difference. You know, that's the opportunity that we took. And Tom Cleverley's subs worked again. As you can see, you know, his substitutions of Vata coming on and Bio coming on, and Those players and a couple of others who came on made the difference today. You had some terrific stuff from the defense. I think the defending was better today. I thought that was good. Listen, first clean sheet at home since I think the game against Stoke. That might have been the first clean sheet since the opening day of the season at home for us. So, if I can remember that correctly, that was the first clean sheet we've had at home since the Stoke game, which was the first game of the season, I think, at home. So the bottom line is that we defended well today. I thought Sierralta was very good, marshaled his box very well as a defender. Porteous, I thought, did a very solid job. Barr should have scored. I thought Barr was brilliant, but he should have scored in the first half. He cued his ball well wide with a great shot. The set piece deliveries were good from Ince again, but he didn't impact the game in the same way. Georgie, not as good on his. He had one good corner, I think. But the bottom line is that the players continued the kind of play individually that they had on Tuesday at Elland Road. Again, if you'd like to hit the request button on X, you're more than welcome to do so. It's great to have you aboard here on You ORNS Post Match on X. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on the post match after Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. And for those of you on YouTube, thank you for your comments. Matt says, finally, we didn't concede in the first 5 minutes of both halves. We stayed strong, like I said we needed to during the pre-match chat. And you did, Matt, on YouTube. You said exactly that when we had the You ORNS pre-match here. That was your big factor. You said that Watford had to stay strong in order to get the job done. And thank you for your comments there, Matt, and for predicting that correctly. I predicted, speaking of correctly, and I was not today, I predicted a 1-1 draw in this game. And I'm glad to be wrong. Let's just put it that way. I am glad to be wrong about that. Watford 1-0 winners. I predicted a 1-1 draw. And listen, for much of this game, once Watford took the lead, I was still thinking that my prediction was going to be right because Blackburn had 3 chances, gilt-edged chances after we had scored to take the lead from the spot. Kayembe was 5th of the season, as I said. I don't know how Blackburn didn't score. I really don't know. Listen, again, I don't care that they didn't score. I'm thankful they didn't score, so I do care that they didn't score because, I mean, obviously we won the game. But I'm just saying, just thinking about that game, I just can't believe that they didn't score. I really don't. But look, the bottom line is that Watford, if you're looking for some good things here, good bounce back from the lads, the character is there. These lads do care. They showed you that. Their character was really good after losing the games, the 2 games in a row. That's the first time that under Tom Cleverley, who's managed now just 21 games in the championship for this Watford side, first time that they had lost back-to-back championship games under Tom Cleverley. And these lads have character. They showed it today. You got to look at that and be honest about it. The lads were really up for the game, despite not playing particularly well. I think individually they did their jobs well. As a team, a little disjointed, perhaps, but you saw things get better in the second half once the players were subbed on and off. That was really, I think, what gave them energy. Vata, a key component here. I like his energy a great deal. I thought that he was very good coming on. I thought Bio was terrific coming on. He lost the ball, ran back to get the ball and win the ball back, and then spearheaded an attack. Bio, that's what you get from him. His work rate is there, as it always is. Even if the goals aren't, you can know that you're going to get something from Bio there. I thought he was very encouraging. Coming off the bench, looked really fresh, having not played last time out. And also, I really liked what Festi Ebisele gave you today. Brilliant stuff from him. Larouci, not quite as good as he was on Tuesday, but Ebisele, again, magnificent stuff from him on the right wing-back side. He was brilliant. I thought Ebisele, arguably one of the men of the match in this one. You could pick from a number of them. I'd like to know who you think the man of the match is. And good news from the CBS Arena. Breaking news, Coventry 3, Luton 2. Oh, my goodness. The day gets better, even better for us as Watford supporters. You've got to love that. Coventry 3, Luton Town 2. Luton had a 2-0 lead. Oh, it just gets better, and then it better all the time for us. We are in 7th at the minute as we get ready before the rest of the games kick off at the top of this hour. It will be Watford in 7th place. We keep a clean sheet, which I think is good. Shows you the defense was on it today. Daniel Backman, what's your thoughts about him today? Certainly a bit shaky. Didn't hurt us, obviously, but certainly a little bit shaky. 19 points for Watford. We are in 7th on goal difference behind our opponents that we just defeated, who have a +4. So it's a +7 for goal difference overall on aggregate for Blackburn Rovers. And so it will take 7 more goals for Watford to jump ahead of any of the teams above them, unless, of course, all of those teams either draw or lose their next games. But we'll see as we go along here the next few days and weeks. Tom Cleverley again wanted Watford to be back in the top 6 when the next international break arrived. Right now, he's got 7th place on the cards as Watford today get the job done against a Blackburn Rovers side who had been going well, had not won away from home. So that is a streak that continues for Blackburn, and had only scored 4 goals away from home. That streak continues for Blackburn as well. This was the first Watford win over Blackburn at the Vic in 3 seasons. They lost last season and then drew the seasons before. You might remember that one from the season before last, when it was Wesley Hood who scored an equalizing goal against Blackburn at the Vic. And I think his debut, or his home debut for Watford, might have been. I'm not quite sure. But this is our first success at home over Blackburn in 3 seasons. We have now won 5 of the last 8 games overall against the Rovers. Remember, we won at Blackburn last season by a score of 2-1. But in terms of the Vic, we had not beaten them in the previous 2 seasons until today. So the first win in 3 seasons for us at the Vic over Blackburn. You've got to love that as well. Todd Cantwell today, for them, I thought our discipline was not as good as it should have been. I was a bit concerned about the way we played discipline-wise. We have been a bit better discipline-wise over the last few weeks. And to be fair, the referee was giving out cards like it was Christmas candy. But there were some of those yellow cards that unfortunately were justified because we just didn't keep our heads in key situations. Bar kicking the ball away, we can do without that. I know he's a young lad and he'll learn. Getting a Kayembe in the book for, I think, dissent. A couple of things like that we need to clean up. Sierralta getting his obligatory yellow card. Sierralta is always good for one of them. So our discipline can be better. But I thought overall today we scrapped and scraped. And that's what the championship's all about. It's about scrapping and scraping your way over the finish line. And we did that. It's not about style points. This is not the Premier League. The championship has never been about flash and dash. It's about grit and heart and desire and scrapping and scraping and clawing and getting over the line. That's what the championship's about. So listen, we can say every week, as I have recently, that our performances have not been at their best, and they've not been. In fact, you can make a case pretty much all season long that's been the case. But the championship is not about style and flair. It's not about the greatness of your performance. It's about the grit and the heart and the character. And what you've got in these lads today, and what you saw even in defeat against Leeds, is character, grit, and heart. And they showed you that today again in a game where, look, they didn't do anything shots on target wise in the first half. And we only had 1 shot on target the entire game, as I remember it. And that was in the 71st minute. That was from the penalty spot. That man, Ido, has got the goal. His 5th of the season to lead all scorers in Watford's team. His 5 championship goals. Ido Kayembe has got the match-winning ball today. But who is your man of the match? Is it Ido? Is it Festi Ebeseli? Is it the likes of someone like Kwadwo Bar, who again shined and sparkled and scintillated? Or was it Sierralta in defense? Was it Pollock in defense? Now, Pollock, of course, has some strapping on his right elbow. That might be a concern. We'll have to see. He played for roughly 70 minutes or so. So we'll see how that goes for him. He was in a lot of pain when he was down on the ground there, and he winced in pain again when he made contact with Todd Cantwell on a challenge. So we'll have to watch out to see the status of Matty Pollock. But who was your man of the match? Was it Porteous? Was it, as I said, was it Sierralta? Was it Ebiseli? I thought Ebiseli had an outstanding game for us. What about the midfield today? How do you feel about that? Can you tell us what you thought about the midfield? And of course, in terms of going up top, what did you think of Barr? Obviously, Barr was terrific today, but how did you like the way we attacked? And what was your view of Georgie today? Georgie, for me, listen, he gives you those really strong marauding runs, but it's the end product I'm beginning to see a pattern on now with him. But this is a winning day. This is a winning Watford day, a winning Watford way that we got down to brass tacks and got over the line, ending that 2-game winless streak with the win today. So we are on 7th. Our home form is going to be the big difference in this season. That is obviously clear. Our home form is going to be what gives us any possibility of making any playoff run at all. We have won all of our home games except one this season. That was the Coventry game where we got a 1-1 draw after Coventry took the lead. That's the only game in which we've dropped points at home this season in the championship. And our away form, apart from the game against Middlesbrough, has been rather poor. And the challenge now for Watford is, how do they transfer what they've done at the Vic this season? How do they bottle that up and get themselves into a position away from home where they play and get 3 points? The only away victory we've had this season was the first game of the season. That came, of course, at Millwall, who currently sit in mid-table, having won just 3 of their first 11 games this season. And one of those wins was the last one that they just got, the last game out. So, we do have an opportunity to start playing consistently well. Consistency is going to be a big factor for us. We've got 2 away contests to follow after this game. Sheffield Wednesday is next Saturday, the 2nd. And then, of course, Tuesday, the 5th of November. Remember, the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes night. We've got to travel to South Wales against the Swans of Swansea. So that is what we've got. We've got these games now that are coming up where we have an opportunity to really build some points here. And if we can get something at Sheffield Wednesday, who actually have improved this season, that would be really, really good. That would be a great springboard for us to go into the game against Swansea as well. Look, we know none of these games is easy. You can't look at the opponent and just say, right, that's 3 points. If you think that way in the championship, get ready for a rude awakening, because the championship does not forgive, and nor do Watford fans, especially when we don't perform well, as we saw against Preston, as we saw against that lot up the road last week. But today, the matter that we all care about is 3 points, and you've got to be delighted with Watford getting these 3 points in a game that wasn't one that you'd really care to watch again anytime soon. But I love the dispatch and the discipline of Kayembe, who, by the way, was being needled by the ref. I mean, what is he doing, the referee? Oh, put the ball exactly on the spot here, put it there. What did the referee want? Did he want the ball to be stuck on the spot? Do we get some super glue and stick the ball on the spot? I mean, that was unnecessary. And I'm glad that Edo, with all the distraction and all the nonsense from the ref, was able to coolly and calmly dispatch that ball into the back of the net. And he was standing there for about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes before that kick even got taken. And I think the referee was just needling there unnecessarily. But this win now for Watford comes at a really good time. I think, look, that's 3 games in a week. We end that 3 games in a week on a winning note. That's 6 wins now for us. 16 goals scored, 19 conceded. All of a sudden now, that looks a whole lot better for Watford. It's still a good start for us. 12 games, 19 points from those 12. Yes, we've dropped the number of points over the last few games, but that's a decent showing. If you're looking at a Watford side that many Watford fans had struggling in the bottom 6 for the vast majority of the season, to be looking at the table now before the rest of these games kick off today and see our team in 7th position, coming off of just 12 games, that's really good, considering the fact that we were poor last season. Again, lots of Watford fans were looking at a struggle and a scrap in the bottom half of the table. Some fans even were predicting a relegation scrap. And now we are expecting nothing worse than the top six. You've got the manager talking about top six. That shows you something. There's a lot of upside to this squad. Yes, they're thin in some areas. We know it. We know that there's a strike force problem. We know that there are issues there. Jefferson not in the lineup at all today. Again, his confidence low, said Tom Cleverley during the week. We also know that Kevin is going to be coming into this side at some point in the next week or two. That's good news. We love to hear that. We know that Ngakia is maybe a week or so away. That's good news. Jeremy Ngakia, the story of his Watford life, unfortunately, has been injuries. And it's a shame because I think he's shown some very good signs at this club. He's been up and down with injuries. TDB, same thing, shows really good signs, but unfortunately, he's had an injury-hit career for us so far. He is having his knee looked at again with more tests on his knee, which swelled up in the last few days. That would be a concern if you're a Watford supporter like we are. But even with that, we've still got some players yet to come into this side, and there's still a lot of promise. We are only 12 games in. We are just hitting our stride. I think there's a lot of upside. Things can get better. Again, we've got to look at the clean sheet. I don't care how poor some people might say the performance was today, or they may not have been inspired by the fact that we only had one shot on target. But let's look at the defending. You know, we've got to talk about consistency, but let's talk about each phase of our play and each third of the pitch that we operated in today. And if you look at isolate each third of the pitch in which we operated in, I thought we did well. I thought we did very well. Defending was solid today. I thought maybe the goalkeeper's still a bit shaky. Listen, I know Daniel Batman came in for a lot of stick the last few days, and I was one of the people that criticized his goalkeeping. But again, I want to say it again here now that we're live. We have got to, whoever's doing that in our Watford fan base, actually making personal attacks on the man, that's got to stop. I don't know if you know any of these Watford fans who are doing it, but it's got to stop. We can criticize Daniel Batman all day on his goalkeeping abilities and his skills in goal, and that's fair game. And even Daniel Batman would agree that's fair game. But to be attacking him personally and talking about all these kinds of comparisons with these evil people in the world and going after his family and questioning him as a human being, that stuff's way beyond the pale, and it's got to stop. Knock it off. So those Watford fans who are doing that, and I know it's a small group of people, knock it the hell off, please. We don't need that at our club. You've got to be better than that. We've had enough of that kind of stuff. Criticize the man on his goalkeeping, for heaven's sakes, yes, but not all these personal attacks. That stuff is not anything that we need to be doing as far as Daniel Batman's concerned. Knock that stuff off, honestly. And to those who say that there aren't fans who do that at our club, we do have fans at our club that do it, and they are fans. You know, they are fans. You know, let's not ignore that, because some people say, well, they're not real fans. Well, they are real fans because they're fans of the club, and some of them engage in that kind of behavior, and it's got to stop. Okay. So that's the one thing I want to say about that. Now, having said that, was Daniel Batman shaky in goal today? Yes, he was. Was he very fortunate in the first half that ball did not cross the entirety of the line? Yes, he was. That was something that Troy Deeney, well, let me tell you, Troy Deeney is a pundit here. I can tell you this. He, as a pundit, Troy Deeney said this, and I saw it at the halftime show here in the United States. He said that Daniel Batman, that was a very poor goalkeeping from him in that particular situation when he did the halftime punditry there for CBS News here in the United States. So that was Troy Deeney talking about his former teammate. So Troy Deeney was not happy with that. And I'm sure he is not the only one of a Watford persuasion who was not happy. So look, there's plenty of room to criticize, But the fact of the matter is, I thought that the Watford play today was enough. We had enough character, we had enough heart, we had enough soul, and we had enough grit to get us over the line. And that was the thing. Now, Matt on YouTube, Matt, thank you for coming in with your comment. I thought Sissoko, says Matt, played a lot better than he did on Tuesday, but I'd give man of the match to Kayembe for him to keep up his focus when the ref got him to replace the ball before the penalty. Was great. Matt, thank you for your comment there. Yep, Kayembe is definitely going to be in the running for man of the match, I'd say. Certainly, as I alluded to it earlier, and Matt just repeated there, just said as well, I thought that Kayembe's peace of mind and focus after being needled by the ref with the penalty kick, and the referee was a bit annoying today. Not a terrible referee, but annoying at times. But to be making a fuss and a meal out of where the penalty kick was and where the ball was. I understand you can't have the ball 2 meters, 2 yards from the goal line. I get that, but the ball was just slightly off the edge of the white of the spot. And there's the ref coming back and saying, "Oh, put it back here." I mean, what's Kayembe supposed to do? And if there's wind, and if there's this, and if there's that, what's Kayembe supposed to do? Again, anyway, I don't want to go on about that too much. But Kayembe definitely, Matt, thank you for your comment there on YouTube. Certainly will be in consideration for man of the match. And Brown Electrons on YouTube has said the following: "I missed the game, but glad to have grinded out a result." Yep, Brown, you missed the game. In terms of what you missed, in terms of substance, not a whole lot from a Watford perspective, but you did miss some good individual performances today. I thought that Ebosele was excellent today, as he was on Tuesday. I also loved what Quadwell Bar brought us, because he does this every week, doesn't he? And I thought Bio off the bench was good. I thought Vata was particularly good off the bench as well. And Sierralta was very good in defense. I thought that Sierralta today did a really good job since he's come back in. You know, he played only 60 minutes on Tuesday after being out with injury, and he fitted in really well there on Tuesday. And I thought he acquitted himself well today. Listen, this is now 3 halves of football where Watford have kept a clean sheet. That's 3 consecutive halves from a team who had real problems staying 10 minutes without conceding in either half of football. But Watford, again, 3 consecutive halves of football now without conceding. I think that might be the longest stretch so far in the championship this campaign where we've not conceded. I think you've got to look at that as a positive. You know, who cares about the performance today? We got 3 points is what counts, right? You know, we played better than this against Leeds and still lost. So you got to look at that as well. That's why performance isn't everything, of course. You want your lads to be optimal from game to game. We've got 46 of these things to play. We've played 11 of them, right? We've played 11 or 12 games so far. 12 games, you know, and these lads showed you some really good character today. After the things that happened, I thought Daniel Bachmann, again, wasn't great in the first half. A little bit better in the second half. That's my assessment of Daniel Bachmann. And Brown Electron says, yeah, true. People are forgetting how poor Foster was in his first few seasons for us. And a lot of us were glad Bachmann came in. His performances were much better. Yeah, when Ben Foster was in, that's right. I remember that too, Brown. That happened particularly when Ben Foster was in, wasn't great at times. Then Bachmann came in and we were all calling for Bachmann to start the games. It does happen that way. The goalkeeping situation has not been a fixed one, obviously, for Watford over the years. We saw this again last season with Ben Hamer, who was really, really good in stretches when Bachmann was not. And then Bachmann resumed his perch as the #1 goalkeeper. And look, the bottom line is the reason, apart from what Cleverly said about being fit, that Bachmann starting these games, I think is 3 reasons. 1, the contract and pressure to play up to that since you signed him for 5 years. 2, I think the other reason that Bachmann's playing over Bond is because, look, Tom Cleverley and Daniel Bachmann were teammates just 2 seasons ago. You can call that cynical all you want, but the fact of the matter is that these lads were teammates together just 2 seasons ago on this Watford side, and I think there's a claim to loyalty there from Clevs, and so Clevs, I think, is probably feeling that pressure to play Bachmann, and also Bachmann's the club captain, and I want to apologize again because I think during the week, someone on one of the forums said to me, well, he's captain. And I said to them, well, he's not captain, Ebosele. Sissoko is captain. I was right on the fact that Sissoko's captain, but he's captain on the pitch. But Bachmann is indeed the club captain. And so I apologize for not fully clearing that up and getting that wrong, as I did the other day. Bachmann's the club captain. That also, I think, plays into why Cleverly is playing him. Call me cynical all you want, but I do think that factors into all of it. Jonathan Bond is not injured. He's not got any disciplinary issue as far as I know. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the team sheet. And obviously, he's performed better than Bachmann has. But the bottom line is that Bachmann today got a clean sheet along with the defense. So we can't be criticizing him when he gets clean sheets. even if it's 1 or 2 moments where he's shaky. And then we got the win today, and then slate him when he doesn't get the win. So look, the bottom line is that Watford got the job done. Brown, you're absolutely right with your analysis on Ben Foster when he was here with us. And Brown continues on YouTube with this: fans still right to call for Backman to be dropped, although I think that's more on Cleverly for picking an unfit Backman. Yeah, it is on Clevs. The manager is the one making the decisions. Backman's not the one making the decisions as club captain. It's the manager. And as I alluded to earlier, Brown, just a few moments ago, I think that the reason he's being played is because loyalty to a teammate, because again, these two were teammates on this Watford side just a couple of seasons back. And also remember that Daniel Backman has a 5-year deal at this club. And so I think that Klebs is under pressure to play the man and start him in these games. And also, again, when you're club captain, when you are someone who has a 5-year contract, and you're somebody who, look, is someone you were teammates with just a couple of seasons or so ago, I think those factors weigh in as to, I think, quite valid reasons why Klebs might be playing him, even though most of us as Watford supporters would look at this and say, Jonathan Bond's got to be starting these games. I mean, Jonathan Bond, we all know, has better composure as a goalkeeper. Daniel Backman's a better shot stopper than Jonathan Bond, but the rest of his game is not quite up to snuff compared to Jonathan Bond, who's a goalkeeper who has been there and done that. He came in from the LA Galaxy this season, and he has a new lease of life as a Watford goalkeeper, and he showed it in those 3 or 4 games that he started. But unfortunately, the manager's making the decisions on who starts these games. I mean, I'm not really criticizing Klebs there, but unfortunately, Klebs has got a blind spot, if you will, for Daniel Backman. But I don't want to really criticize Daniel Backman today because, look, he did enough. He made a couple of good saves in the second half. When Blackburn should have scored, he made himself big, come out of the goal. And I don't know what the former Watford man, Andy Weimann, was thinking, but he blasted the ball above Daniel Backman and way over the bar. I don't know how he missed from there. And again, Blackburn missing point-blank range shots in that second half in front of the Vicarage Road and the Anne Swanson end, where, across from which the Blackburn fans were, the other side of the Anne Swanson. And I don't know, maybe Anne Swanson today was saying a prayer because there was 2 of them that should have gone in. Watford, again, I think in some cases, very fortunate to win the game. This happened in the game against Middlesbrough. I don't want to put too much cold water on this win. I'm just trying to just bring some perspective here. Against Middlesbrough, we were down 1-0, and we came from behind to pull the rabbit out of the hat there. Good character from the lads and good character today. Let me tell you, we were very fortunate not to have gone in losing this game or getting a share of points. This is how football is, though. If you look at the way football is, and you do, as we all do, Watford as a team today, very fortunate. But look, we should have got something out of the Leeds game. We didn't do quite enough on Tuesday to get something out of that game. And you might say we didn't do all that we could to get the 3 points today. But for that one moment in the 70th minute when Barr ran into the box and then really triggered the penalty, really got the penalty for Watford after Bayo flicked the ball on. And then, of course, it hit the Blackburn player, Hedges, I think it was, who handballed it, clearly handballed it. And so that was what it took. And then, of course, the calm and the cool of Kayembe to get the ball into the back of the net after the referee made a meal out of the spot kick situation. So, look, we did enough, and that's what it takes in football matches. Sometimes it's just those isolated moments that get you over the line that you've got to execute in, and Blackburn didn't execute in those isolated moments. And the football matches come down to that. The isolated moments in a game. Blackburn missing shots point blank range. Blackburn not getting the ball fully over the line when Daniel Backman made a meal of it. Blackburn missing point blank range shots one-on-one. That is what the game comes down to. It's literally a game of inches, inches. A couple of inches more, and that ball would have been over the line completely, and Blackman would have taken a 1-0 lead early in the game. A couple of inches more, that's what it comes down to. Kayembe's penalty got past the goalkeeper Pears, who I think did a good job for Blackburn, but he didn't really have to do much. One shot on target the entire match, but it's the shot that counted, and it was Ido Kayembe's shot that gave Watford all 3 points today. So who was your man of the match? Well, Matt on YouTube has said it is Kayembe as the man of the match. What say you on man of the match today? The You ORNS man of the match today for me was Festi Ebisele. Really good defensively. I think his defending and his play was terrific. He showed you some real heart and soul and spirit and wisdom in that defending role as a right wing back. He didn't go forward a whole lot today, Ebisele, but he gave you some real intensity defensively, and he really, I thought, backed up the defense very well. So my man of the match, the You ORNS man of the match today, Festi Ebisele for Watford. You could pick from a number of players. You could pick Kayembe. You could pick from Sierralta. You could pick from, I think Portis did a good job. You can pick from Quadro Bar. And of course, you can pick from, I said Kayembe already. So the You ORNS man of the match today for me is Festi Ebisele, who I thought was terrific today all around. Now, my prediction before the start of this game was Watford 1, Blackburn 1. I was off, and thankfully I was off on that pre-match prediction. Now, I did not pre-match predict either of the last 2 games, and I'm glad I didn't, because of course they were both losses. But other than those 2 games and the game at Norwich, all the games that I've failed to predict this season have been Watford losses. Every game in which I did not give a pre-match prediction in, Watford ended up losing, and that's 3 games. So I better start predicting every one of these games, and maybe Watford won't lose them. So I'm so pleased. I'm so happy that we got the 3 points. We got over the line today. It's something that it just puts you in a better frame of mind to start the day. And those of you on X, I want to thank you for your time and your comments. We're going to switch to Instagram in a few short moments' time. But all of you who have listened in on X, thank you so very much indeed. We're going to continue on YouTube, reading out your comments as well. And so we'll do that in a few short moments. But for those of you on X, I want to say thank you very much indeed for joining. The final score today was Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. We're in 7th place as of right now as these games kick off. Thank you very much indeed, everyone, from wherever you may be across the world on X. And it's from me, Omar. Until next week, against Sheffield Wednesday, to Instagram land, where we will go to Instagram You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. That's coming up in a few moments, but I'm going to read out some more comments here on YouTube. Thank you very much, YouTube audience, for continuing on with us here and sticking with it on You ORNS Extra. Coming up, You ORNS post-match here on YouTube. And we are about to begin on Instagram as well. Hello there to you in Instagram land, and welcome to You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live and live around the world, also on YouTube, as we go on a post-match here after Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. A very, very satisfying 3 points, considering that Watford only had 1 shot on target, and the goalkeeper for us, Daniel Backman, was still shaky at times. But we had good performances from our lads in isolated individual areas of the pitch. Festi Ebisele, for me, is the You ORNS man of the match. For those of you just joining on Instagram, love to know who your man of the match was today for Watford as they got these 3 points today. Welcome in, Tracy, on Instagram. Nice to see you after a Watford win. I predicted, and Tracy knows this because I predicted a 1-1 draw today. Tracy predicted a win, and so Tracy was correct on that. Well done there, Tracy, and to all of you as well, all the rest of you who did predict a Watford win today. I'm glad that I got it wrong and you got it right. I'm very pleased about that. Although 1-1 and 1-0, again, pretty close from me with the prediction, but thankfully wrong as far as this is concerned. As I was just saying to people on X and here on YouTube as well, all the games I have not done a pre-match prediction on, Watford have ended up losing. I didn't do a pre-match prediction for Norwich. I didn't do a pre-match prediction for Luton, and I didn't do a pre-match prediction for Leeds. and Watford lost all 3 of those. So I need to start predicting these games every game pre-match, because all the ones I predicted, Watford have got points out of, whether they've won or drawn. And I predicted a draw today, and they got a win. So I am really pleased that Watford did that. I'm going to read out some of your comments, all your comments right here on Instagram and right here on YouTube. And on YouTube, there are comments here from Matt saying this following on YouTube. He says this: what I noticed with Barr was once he moved right-hand side, when Bio came on, he had more space to run at Blackburn, and that's given us the position to win the penalty. Yes, indeed, Matt. You're absolutely right about that. That switch made a difference. He was absolutely instrumental in getting that penalty, as I alluded to earlier. And certainly I would say that the comment there that you're making, I totally agree with. And I think you're spot on, Matt. Thank you very much for your comment. Matt continues, that's the sort of Watford team we want to see battling, says Matt, for the ball, battling for the ball non-stop, closing the ball down and working more as a team rather than an individual. Yes, indeed. I agree. The teamwork is key in this contest, and it was today. Even though I don't think it was a team-wide great performance, it's just the things that they did in isolated moments in the game that I thought were very instrumental, like those fast breaks. Bio lost the ball, retrieved it, ran back to get the ball, won the ball back, and then spearheaded the attack in transition down the other end. Those kinds of things Watford did well today in the isolated moments of this game as a team, and they did work well in those moments. The defending was better today, clean sheet. You can't complain there. That's now 3 halves of football for us where we've not conceded. So that's a good sign, trying to get the balance right between defending and attacking. And Watford are beginning to build that here the last couple of games. Tracy says the following, and thank you, Jackie for coming in. Hello, Jackie. And Tracy says this on Instagram: I know Bio hasn't been great lately, she says, but there were times in today's game when he was in a great position to score, but the ball was not passed to him. That's a keen observation from you, Tracy, about that. I noticed that as well, by the way. There was one real break that they had, and he was all alone, and they didn't pass the ball to him. What's that about? Why are they not? That's not good football. And that's why I said, individually there were moments, but that one was really telling, Tracy. That's the one I could think of. And maybe there's more of them perhaps that you saw. I don't, but that one sticks out in my mind, Tracy. There was a moment, I mean, he was in acres of space and they didn't pass it to him. And I didn't know why. And the man just come off the bench. He was fresh as a daisy. He was fresh. Passed the ball to the man. He's still a striker on the team. He's not scored many. He scored just the one. But, again, you still got to pass them. Pass them the ball. Yeah, I mean, Tracy, I was wondering about that too. And I'm glad you brought it up. So thank you for doing that. Harrison Allardyce, hello to you. Handley, hello to you. Richard, hello to you. All of you on Instagram, please keep your comments coming in. It's always good to see them. And also on YouTube as well. And continuing on, Brown Electrons on YouTube says the following: I know I said it last stream, but it was really poor from Watford to not offer Ben Hamer a year extension. He was unreal in some games. Yeah, Matt. I'm sorry, Brown Electrons. Brown, I agree with you. But I knew that they were going to do this. Watford do this, It's this idea that they've got to stay loyal to the guy they made the mistake on the contract with. And so rather than admit that they really gave 5 years as a really poor contract and not maybe 2 or 3 years for Backman, they gave him 5. And not, they'd rather not give the veteran goalkeeper who outperformed Backman last season an additional 1-year extension than admit that they screwed things up with Daniel Backman and the contract. That's the way it goes at the front office at Watford. I agree with you, but I was telling people, Brown, last season that they were not going to give Ben Hamer an extension. And I agree with you. They should give him an extension. They should have. That man was really good for us. He was incredible for us. And I think at the Plymouth game, remember that on New Year's Day to start this year? First game of the first day of the year. And he made some unbelievable saves, point blank range, to keep Watford at 3 in a 3-3 situation. It was unbelievable. And no, he doesn't get any extension. No, not him. No, we're not giving him an extension, Brown. Bye-bye, Benny. Bye-bye, Benny. That's what happened. He's out to walk out the door. I don't know. That's the mystery, isn't it, of the front office that sometimes gets things right and sometimes gets things very wrong. Look, Daniel Backman is a solid person. He's a good person. He's got good character to him. But listen, we saw again today where the nervousness is and where, the commentary I was watching here in the United States, the commentators made it clear that he looked very vulnerable and very nervous, very shaky out there. I forgot the name of the co-commentator, but she was saying that he looked very nervy. And he did. She's absolutely, I forget her name now. She is absolutely on the money with that. He looked very nervy still. And so that's the only concern I have as far as Backman's concerned. He still needs to be, he doesn't have the confidence, I don't think. And I don't think he is 100% fit. I don't think he is. He's a lot better than he was against Luton in terms of his ability to kick the ball and all that. But again, those attributes that a lot of Watford fans have been nervous about over the years are still there, still not as dimensional. He's a one-dimensional keeper. His kicking and distribution aren't great. But that's the bottom line. It's a mistake. I agree, Brown. Ben Hamer should still be on this team. And here's the thing. This is what gets me, Brown, on YouTube about this. They let Hamer go, but they bring in Jonathan Bond, who'd come from here in America, down in Southern California, down in LA, which is about 400 miles south of here. And they bring him in. Now, I got nothing against Johnny Bond. Johnny Bond's been very good for us, and he used to play for us before, of course, in the previous spell at Watford. But why would you have to bring in Jonathan Bond when you had Ben Hamer here, who was brilliant for you last season? Why did you let him go and then bring in Jonathan Bond? Unless Ben Hamer wanted to leave Watford, which I don't get the sense that he did. Why on earth would you let Ben Hamer go and bring in Jonathan Bond when you had a really good goalkeeper in Ben Hamer here? I don't know. Brown, it's a mystery to me. But as I said to you a few moments ago, and I said to everyone here, this is what happens when we're front office. Sometimes they make mistakes like we all do, right, in life. But sometimes their mistakes on the pitch with what they do, rather, to affect the game on the pitch. Nobody thought about getting a bona fide striker in here. Seriously, we got Jefferson. He's low on confidence. Bio not scoring any goals. Radžić gets tossed out, and I criticize Radžić a lot here. He's in Brøndby on the season long. So, what decisions are being made? And I know Cleverly was on board with these decisions because he had some input in these decisions too. So the manager can't be left out of that equation here. So we got to be honest about that. The bottom line is, welcome aboard, Jack Majellis and all the rest of you here. I wonder what a goalkeeping duo of Hamer and Bond would be like for us, says Jack Majellis. Yeah, I wonder about that too, Jack, on Instagram. What would that be like? Hamer and Bond. Bond. Johnny Bond. And Ben Hamer. Oh, that might be a knockout punch, right? 007 ain't seen nothing yet. Forget the shaken and not the stirred. As far as the martinis are concerned, these two would shake up some things for Watford if you had that lot. The two veteran goalkeepers being your two goalkeepers at this club. If tomorrow, let's say in January, if you could bring Ben Hamer back in here and have Hamer and Bond with Backman, that's a good, proper goalkeeping contest, isn't it? You'd have competition for that number one shirt, but clubs will still play Backman out of loyalty. I think this is purely about loyalty, not just the club captaincy, not just the contract. I said both of those earlier. It's about loyalty. Tracy says there is generally a story behind the scenes why these things happen, that the fans are not generally privy to. Yeah, Tracy, yes, I agree with you. There's always a story around why the front office does what it does. There's always a story about why a player doesn't get brought back, and the fan base never learns about it. And a lot of the times, the press never learns about it either. And maybe the press knows about it, they're on authority not to leak it out. But Tracy, I agree with you. There's a lot of reasons why goalkeepers get kept, goalkeepers don't get kept, stuff that we never hear about as a fan base. So, Tracy, I agree 100%. There's a lot of this that goes on across football, across any line of work, and the public just never gets to learn why. You can think about all the different areas of life in the world, and we never get to know about certain things. And I definitely agree when it comes to football. Tracy, I agree with you 100%. There's things that we never ever get to know as fans, and then some of it only gets revealed years later in a book, in an autobiography, in some kind of tell-all, as to why a player is here or isn't. The stuff with Tufan, a couple of years ago, there was rumors that there was a bust-up between him and another Watford player whose name I've forgotten, that got leaked out by the agent of that Watford player, and that there was a fisticuffs going on with Tufan and someone else, and that led to Tufan leaving and the other player leaving. Some of the stuff never gets leaked out, never gets told, and I'm with you 100% on that, Tracy. Thank you for your comments as always, and thank you to everyone who's commenting on YouTube and on Instagram. It's great to have you aboard. Joe Larkins joined us. You Orns, says Joe. Back to winning ways. Yes, indeed, Joe. You got to love that. I wonder if you saw the game, Joe. What did you think of the game today? And who, if you did see the game, would be your man of the match? And that is open to anyone to answer. Your man of the match. The YOU ORNS man of the match today is Festi Ebosele. I thought he was terrific all game long. Played the whole game and was really good at right wing back. His defending today was impeccable, and he was a big key to this win. Obviously, people can say Kayembe because, of course, he scored his 5th goal of this championship season. I thought he was good. And Brown asked, how did Vata play? Vata was really good today. Brown, thanks for asking about that. Rocco Vata was very good, very lively off the bench. He came in around the 65th minute. I thought those substitutions were key from Cleves. Vata gave you a lot of energy, came into the box, really good cutting edge, had a shot blocked. He was very good today, Vata, working his way into more minutes with this. So I can tell you that Vata was absolutely brilliant. Really made a mark on the game, gave Watford a bit of energy that was lagging a little bit in the second half. And that's what turned the tide. And then, of course, the goal came shortly thereafter. Thank you for that, Brown. Back on Instagram, Tracy says, I agree with Festi. Thank you for that, Tracy. Festi as the man of the match for Tracy as well. And so Joe Larkins says on Instagram, we were much better today. He says, even players like Bio, Vata, and Porteous, who have had poor seasons, played well. All 3 of them did play well today, and 2 of them were subs. And I thought that the key in this game were the subs again. Leeds had that for them last game. The key for Leeds was the subs when they brought them on, as Watford were really pressing Leeds in the previous game. And those subs made a difference for Leeds today. Our subs made a difference for us against Blackburn Rovers. And those 2 players, Bio and Vata, were very important to this game. Why? When Barr made that great run into the box and crossed the ball in, it was a flick-on header from Bio that hit the hand of the outstretched hand, I should say, of the Blackburn Rovers player Hedges. And that was the difference. And that's what set up the penalty. And there we go. So very important stuff there. Those subs were very key to the game. And while Cleverly got things wrong the last couple of games in some areas, certainly against the Luton game, he definitely did. Today, he got everything right. Listen, Tom Cleverly has been only managing this team for 21 games. Let's keep that in mind, okay? He had 9 games last season. He has 12 games. I'm talking about championship games. 21 championship games. He had 9 last season when he came in, 9 games he managed in the championship, and 12 in the championship this season. This isn't this. And again, we've got to remember, to be fair, this manager's only been here for 21 championship games, bridging 2 seasons. You've got to keep that in mind, right? He's only made mistakes in maybe 2 games in the 21 that he's been here, maybe one. So we've got to keep that in mind on Clevs. Yes, it's annoying that he's not starting Johnny Bond. He should. But the bottom line here is that the man's done a good job here at Watford. No, listen, you can go back a long way where you see a manager go unbeaten at home in the first 4 months of a championship season. August, September, October, right? And it's going to be November when they get into November. So we're going to go. We've gone 3 months unbeaten at Vicarage Road. You'll have to go a long way back to find a Watford manager who's gone the first 3 months of a campaign without losing at the Vic in the championship. I dare you to name me the name. Name me the name. You're not going to find one, right? Even the season when we were really starting to win the championship in the Premier League under Javi Gracia, we lost a game in the first 3 months. We lost a home match. Remember that? The first match we lost was to Manchester United. We lost 2-1 at home to them. That was in September of 2017. Sorry, 2018. You have to go a long, long way back before Tom Cleverley, right? To see a Watford manager where the team went the first 3 months of a season unbeaten at the Vic. You name me the manager. You're going to have to be digging in the Google record books for that. Seriously, you're going to be digging for that because you're not going to find him. Not for a long stretch. Not for a long stretch. Keep that in mind. I mean, you can go get looking now online to see if you can find the last Watford manager who has gone 3 months into a campaign without defeat. More than 3 months. Season started what, August 10th? And I know we don't play every week at home, but I'm just saying in 3 months where we've had home matches, we've not lost one of them. Not a single one. This Vicarage Road that we love, that we complained about so much the last few seasons, where we only won 5 or 6 games last season and 4 the season before that, maybe 4 or 5. We've now won 6 times at the Vic this season. We only won 5 or 6 times the whole campaign last season at the Vic. Can't complain about that. Niall, thank you very much. Bio turned me on, he says there. Jack from Down Under. JB, hello to you from Down Under. Got lots to read out on YouTube. Matt says, with the pace of Vata on one side and Bar on the other side, Blackburn was just trying to bring them down, just to stop them getting through on goal. That's something we've not had since Saar left. Yeah, I noticed that too. Vata and Bar and Bio as well, late on in the game. Down that right side when Bio went there for a few minutes and was running down the right side, won the ball, ran down the side. He was away there, and the Blackburn player horse-collared him to the ground, got a yellow card for that, and Bio was terrific there. I think Bio had a very good game off the bench. As you said there, Matt, Bar had been really good. The pace was good again from him and Vata as well. That 1-2 punch, if you can play Vata and Bar like that more often, he's not going to start Vata for these games, right? It's going to be different players. But if you can start him at some point down that left side, he poses a real threat down there. Got a lot of energy. He brings you something. He's got a good attitude on him too, just like Bar does. They're both similar players in that way. Obviously, Bar's a bit more physical, and he's more incisive than Vata, but Vata does cut a really confident figure out there. And I think that is what you're looking for. So thanks for the comment there, Matt. And I agree with you 100%. Hey, Omar, says Jack from Down Under. Just got home from watching the Perth Glory lose. I'm sorry that they did. Great news to see the result. Yeah, yes, great news indeed. Good result for us today. We got over the line. I predicted a 1-1 before this game began this morning on the You ORNS pre-match, and I'm thankful to be wrong about that. I've got to start predicting these matches every match, because when I failed to make a pre-match prediction, Watford have lost. Norwich, Luton, Leeds. I did not predict before the match, and they lost all three of them. So maybe I better start predicting every one of these matches, because every time I have predicted, Watford have got points or have won these games. George, hello to you, George, on Instagram. More comments, bring them forward, please, on both Instagram and on YouTube. It would be great to read them out. How did Vata play? I've already answered that. I'm sorry, Brown. I know I read that earlier. Vata played really well, Matt says. Well, won the free kicks in good areas of the pitch, held the ball up well, and was happy to take on the Blackburn back line. Indeed, he did just that. Mental record, really happy for Tom, says Brown Electrons. Just needs to sort out that away form. Yes, that's the key now, Brown, sorting out the away form. If we can play half as well as we did on Tuesday against Leeds, that's when you can take something from. Bottle that up and carry that into the game at Hillsborough next weekend. Leeds are a better team than Sheffield Wednesday are. Sheffield Wednesday have improved this season, though, looking good. They're mid-table after the long relegation scrap last season for them. They're mid-table this season. They look like they've learned a thing or two, and they're going to be a tricky proposition now. But if we can bottle up what we did against Leeds on Tuesday and bring that into the game next Saturday, I think we could have something going for us. We've got to start getting the balance right from our home form onto our away form. We've won just once away from home. We've lost the other 5 matches away since. It would be meaning a whole lot here if we can get 3 points next weekend against Wednesday at Hillsborough. That would be fantastic. I think that would give us a real sense of purpose going into the following weekend's contest in South Wales. Watford desperately need to get another away win here to start justifying what they've been doing at home. I mean, to back up what they've been doing at home. Watford need to start getting away wins. We got one against Millwall at the start of the season, and we had to come from behind, or we had to come from a 2-2 draw after having a 2-0 lead to get that win. But look, a win is a win, no matter how it comes about. But we have got to start getting the consistency in our away performances the way in a positive way, because we have had consistency away. We've had defeats. But I'm talking about the consistency of starting to win games away from home. It builds more confidence. We've got that game on Tuesday at Leeds really showed me a lot about the character of this Watford side. 72 hours after being smashed at that lot up the road, I thought our character was really good. I think if we can continue that kind of character away from home, I think we'll be in good shape. Here are your comments, more coming in on YouTube. We'll go for another 5 or 10 minutes or so on both on Instagram, pardon me, and on YouTube. Brown says, Mark Brisbane says, Vata has to play. He is special. The more he plays, the better he will get. I'm a fan of that, what you just said, Mark, because I'm a fan of throwing in the youngsters, trial by fire, let them get their feet wet, play the lads, let them build their confidence. They're going to be confident by nature, quite frankly, because they are younger players who are unafraid in that way. They're more fearless than players who have been around a bit longer. And you've got a pedigree and an unbridled enthusiasm in youth that you have with the likes of a Rocco Vata. I would like him to start the games. I know Cleverley's not going to do that yet. He's still a young lad. Was he 19 or 20 or whatever he is, 18, 19? He's not going to get thrown into the deep end a lot, but I think the more he plays, the better. It was a showing to me of some maturity from the manager to put Rocco Vata into the game in the 65th minute. That showed me something. That shows me that Tom Cleverley is willing to give him a little bit more leeway and more time on the pitch, because that's exactly what Rocco Vata needs, as you said, Mark. So thank you for the comment. Really appreciate that comment from you. As I say, I think you're spot on here with that, and I agree with what you had to say. Mark also said Luton did really well. They certainly did. They certainly did, didn't they? A 2-0 lead evaporated at the CBS Arena, and we're loving that. Coventry City got the job done. Real character from the Sky Blues today. You love to see it against that lot up the road who scored against us, and they battered us last week. But that's the biggest win they'll get this season, is the one against us. The rest of the way, they're going to be getting L's, lots of L's, lots of L's from Luton Town. L is for losers, and L is for Luton Town losing today. Yay! We're loving that, aren't we? After Coventry came from 2-0 down at the CBS Arena. Good job there, Mark. They did mightily well today. We got to love that out of Luton Town. 2-0 lead, and they flub it. Totally throw it in the toilet, throw it in the bin, and we come back with Coventry Sky Blues getting the job done today. 3-2 at the CBS Arena. You're loving that, Mark, as all Watford fans are. Mark says, when the ball goes wide, we need to fill the box. Bar was on his own on every occasion. Yeah, that's one other thing I'd take away from today. We didn't get enough support at times, did we, going forward? And Bar was the only one, and it's not just that game, Mark, on YouTube. It's a lot of games where I find that Bar is doing it all by himself. Where are the rest of the runners? I don't want to be too critical here after a win, but we have to be constructively criticizing. There's nothing wrong with being constructive in our criticism. Let's have other players flood forward. Why not? What's wrong with that? I don't know why that isn't happening enough. There's not enough players flooding forward so that when Bar crosses the ball, you've got runners coming in. You have to be, Mark, what I would say is, along with your point, is that Watford players have to be more anticipatory in that box. They have to be more proactive in that box. Believe that when Bar's on the ball, something good is going to happen. And to me, Mark, that comes from trust. And that may be a lack of trust, because where are the runners? They should be working. They should be hustling their backsides off to meet Bar in that box. Flood the runners forward. I've seen that, Mark. I've seen that far too often this season as well. He'll be the only one up front. And sometimes it's Georgie that's done it too. He's run up front. Where are the runners supplementing him? But Bar especially, that's happened with, and that's got to change. I'm sure they look at the film, and I'm sure Klebs runs down the film with them on the film days. Probably tomorrow there'll be a film session, right? They do film sessions on Sundays at this club. Surely the lads will have seen this. He's pointed this out. Where are the rest of the runners? I agree. Mark, thank you for the comment there. John Weatherly has joined us on Instagram. Thank you, John, for being here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. We're going to go for about 5 more minutes here, both on Instagram and on YouTube. Read out all of your comments, and they are coming in. We've all had a say today, and Mark has had the say most recently. I agree. Again, Mark, we definitely need to deal with that. You can't have Bar isolated on his own, and he's making something out of nothing in these runs. How many times did he get past his marker down that right side, across that ball in, drive that ball low in and hard across the box? Make something happen. He makes it happen. The other players need to be as proactive as Bar and trust in Bar's ability to get the ball across. Queue up, for goodness sakes. Queue up. You've got to be running into the box. But for some reason, we're not doing that in a consistent way. Here is Matt with a comment. He says this on YouTube, does Matt. Just looked at the 3 p.m. kickoffs, 30 minutes into those games, and so far Preston, Sheffield United, and Sunderland are 1-0 up. All other games are still at 0-0. That's good. That's good news. From a Watford perspective, that's good news, because if you look at the table at the moment, again, the live table at this very moment, Watford remain at this point in 7th place as of the right now. Obviously, there will be some changes to the table, but at the moment, Watford still in 7th place, and that is where we're going. Sunderland continue to play really good football. I mean, Sunderland have just been ridiculous this season. They've lost just twice. Sheffield United have lost just once as well. Oh, no, they've lost twice. I'm sorry. And there are a few other teams, 1 or 2 others, who have lost only once this season. 2 teams have lost just once. Yeah, this is good stuff, Matt, so far. If we can somehow hold on to 7th, I think that'd be really, really good. Here we go with some more comments. Mark Brisbane says, give Barr the service and he will score. Yep. I agree with that. Obviously, we've seen what Barr does. He is head and shoulders above this season. I've got to say right now, he is the best player Watford have. Georgie was taking that role for the first few games of the season. I think he's tailed off a bit, Georgie, to be fair. I mean, I know they play in different areas of the pitch. I understand that. Georgie's more of a central player than Barr tends to be, although Barr can get central as well at times. He's mostly left or right. But I think that no matter what position you're in on the pitch, I think this season so far, Quadro Barr has made the difference. He scored you 2 goals already. He's just playing first-team football for the first time, right, this season. I don't think he's played first-team football for us prior to this season. I think Quadro Barr, I think has been really good for us. He is the best player Watford have, and he's the player of the season. Of course, it's only 12 games in, but he is the player of the season so far for me. In the very early running. Andy Goddard has joined us. Hello to you on Instagram there, Andy. Thanks very much for joining us. More comments on YouTube from Watford supporters, and they are like this from Mark Brisbane. Bottom line, we have had 2 tough games and we've bounced back with a win, and that's all that matters. We just need to get that away win and kick on. That is absolutely it. And I will say that is the comment of the match. The You ORNS comment of the match today goes to Mark Brisbane. Bottom line, we have had 2 tough games and we've bounced back with a win, and that's all that matters. We just need to get that away win and kick on. That is the nub of it, and that is the long and short of it, and that is the You ORNS comment of the match. So thank you, Mark Brisbane, for supplying that, and well done to you. Brown Electron says, I'm afraid after Barr's performances, he is probably going to get him. Let me see this again. I'm afraid after Barr's performances, he is probably going to get him a top flight team. I see a bottom half Prem team taking a punt on him. That is the fear, Brown. The fear, Brown, on YouTube is that he has been so good that a Premier League club is going to come in for him. You know that. You and I both know that. Everyone watching and listening knows that as well. That someone will make a play for Quadro Barr at some point in this season. If not in January, then in the off season during the summer. And it's going to be a lot of money, and the man is not going to turn it down. I don't think he will. The opportunity to play in the Premier League, especially if it's a club, let's say a Brentford came in for him, he would totally take that move. I think a Brighton, he'd take that move. Pretty much any Premier League club, he'd take that move. I think a club like Brighton or Brentford would suit Barr really well. I'm not trying to get him out of Watford. Come on, I'm not doing that. I want him here. I want him to stay here as long as he'd like. He's just signed a 5-year deal. Of course, I want him to stay the 5 years and then get a further extension. I want all that. Watford developed this player. He came through the academy ranks, if I'm not mistaken. He's been developed here, and he's been prospering here. And, he's becoming really, really good. I mean, he's becoming the best player on this team. I want him to stay here for all 5 years. Contracts are made to be broken. I know people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. Doucouré signed a 5-year deal, and I remember he famously held up a shirt on the pitch in front of the Watford Football Club sign that said on the back of it, Doucouré 2023. He didn't make it out of 2021 with us. He didn't make it he was off to Everton in 2020 or 2021. So, records and contracts are made to be broken. And we know what it is. It's business. Football is a business first and foremost. So, yeah, Barr signed a 5-year deal. Don't mean he's going to be here for 5 years. Doesn't. Can't guarantee that. If a club comes in for him, like Brown says, Premier League club, bottom half Premier League club. You tell me if a Crystal Palace comes in I hate to say that, but if Palace comes in for him, he wouldn't take that. If a Brighton came in for him, he wouldn't take that. If a Brentford came in for him, or a Bournemouth, or a Forest, And Forest, by the way, doing pretty well this season. But if a Bournemouth or a Forest came in for him, or a Brentford, you don't think he's taking that? Premier League? Come on. You know what the answer is. We all do, right? But the goal is for Watford to get back into the Premier League, so he doesn't have to be entertaining them kind of offers from a Newcastle, from a Palace, from a Brighton, from a Bournemouth, from a Brentford, right? We don't. Our goal is to get back into the big time. If we can get back in the big time, that takes those headaches off the table potentially, but that won't stop a Premier League club from coming after him, even if he is in the Prem with Watford at some point. That won't stop one of them clubs coming in for him, but at least we'd have him in the Premier League with us, as opposed to having him in the Premier League with another team, and we're still in the Championship without someone who's so instrumental and influential. And Brown agrees with me. Barr and Pollock currently player of the season so far, so he's got Pollock in the mix as well for that. Pollock had looked like an injury today, but he had strapping around his right elbow, Brown, and his upper arm. He seemed to wince every time he made contact in a challenge, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. As far as Matty Pollock is concerned, Matty Pollock has done a very good job this season. That is a good shout. If you're talking about an early player of the season honor so far, sorry, you can make a case about that. Excuse me, you can make a solid case for that. But I'll tell you this, if you're looking at one player and one player alone and how effective he has been and influential he has been, it's Barr. A lot of teams would love a Quadwo Barr on their team sheet. But my goodness me, he's so fearless. You've got to love that about Quadwo Barr. Barr gives you everything on that pitch. Right Turn Clyde, hello to you on Instagram. More comments from you. Matt says the more on-field minutes Barr is getting, you can see his confidence is growing. Absolutely, Matt. Listen, he's starting the games now. And, just a few short games ago, we were talking about I was talking about, and some other Watford fans were saying, you prefer Barr coming in off the bench, because there was one or two games when he was starting where he wasn't quite at it. But since he started these games after the international break, he's been really good. He has been very good, and he's going to keep starting these games. Tom Cleverley is not going to start Bio right now, even though Bio had a good game today off the bench. No chance, no way on earth is Bio going to get the start over Barr. And I can tell you right now that Barr is going to continue to start. There's just no way around it. And as Matt points out, the confidence grows, and that can only mean good things for Watford. Now we just need the whole team's confidence to grow away from home enough where they can start to put some away performances together. I think that the Leeds game is an important template. I thought that the game against Manchester City in the Cup was an important template. Did not concede in the second half of that game. You look at that game and the game against Leeds, we didn't concede in the second half of either of those games and still lost 2-1 in both. But the bottom line is, you've got to look at how we can get the balance right. And I think if we're going to perform better away from home, I think this is an obvious observation I'm about to make. If we're going to perform better away from home, then we're going to obviously have to start defending better away from home. And we've begun to do that now, because in the game against Leeds, second half, we didn't concede. And in the game today, we didn't concede. So we've now gone 3 halves of football without conceding a goal. That's pretty blooming good. That's the longest stretch we've gone this season without conceding. 3 consecutive halves of championship football without conceding a goal. I think that's really good. I think that's very good. And we should really be thinking about that, because the defending is going to be a key to trying to get the balance right away from home. And if you can keep clean sheets in halves in football matches, you're going to come out on top more often than not. And so the fact that they kept a clean sheet in the second half against Leeds, and the fact that they've kept a clean sheet for the entire game today, give you a very good indication of the trajectory so far of this Watford side, who, again, this is the longest spell I can think of under Tom Cleverley. In these 21 championship games he's managed, dating back to last season, where Watford have not conceded 3 consecutive halves. Now, I don't want to jinx them now that I've said that, right? The classic commentator's curse, right? And when the commentator today said Watford have not had a clean sheet since blah blah blah, I thought, oh dear. But then again, it turned out to be a positive jinx because Watford kept the clean sheet, very close to conceding, but they kept the clean sheet, which is all that we care about. 3 consecutive halves of football now without a goal conceded, and that's good. We can bring that now into the game at Hillsborough next Saturday, and I think we can really build off of that. So I'm hoping that they can continue this run, because then it will help their confidence if they keep these clean sheets. If they can go the first half hour or the first half of the game next week against Sheffield Wednesday without conceding, that's going to bring more confidence to the side. And then they're all going to dedicate themselves to defending and defending and defending. And then that defense will also help the other parts of the field. Midfield today was okay. Wasn't great, but it was okay. I thought Sissoko was better. I think someone made a comment about that earlier. It was a decent midfield. Let's put it that way today. A lot better than we've seen over the last couple of games. Sissoko back to somewhere near his best today, recycling the ball well, making forward runs a bit more today, reasserting himself in that midfield. Kayembe, I think this partnership between he and Kayembe is working. At least it worked today for the most part. They even though Blackburn had the balance of possession, there's no question about it. But still, I still thought our midfield did well considering everything. And can't really complain about that today. But we got 3 points, so no need to complain about any of that. Matt says it's a bit like what I said in a previous stream. Give Ball more minutes, and he'll just prove to us what he can do. That's exactly what he's doing. Absolutely, Matt. Terrific observation again, as always. I think we're going to let that be the last comment of this one, and we're going to say goodbye on this edition of You ORNS Post-Match. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here with us on YouTube and, of course, on Instagram as well. It's been great to read your comments out. And, of course, we are going now into next weekend against Sheffield Wednesday with 19 points to our name after just 12 games. I think that's a good start for Watford. 6 wins in our first 12. That's good. We are currently as of now in 7th place. That may or may not change, but we are right now in 7th, doing fairly well. I would say getting the win, bringing your character after these 2 defeats in a row. The first time under Tom Cleverley that we lost back-to-back games, certainly back-to-back games in the Championship. I think, or maybe back-to-back games overall. But the bottom line is that we came back today and showed you some real character. Came back off of those 2 losses in a row, showing some really good character today. Grit and heart and vigor and energy got us over the line in that second half, and got that penalty. 1 shot on target was the only one we needed, and it was Edo Kayembe, his 5th of the season. That is all for this edition of You ORNS Post-Match on YouTube and You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. And for those of you who were on X earlier, I want to thank you once again. It was great to do this post-match, and we did the pre-match earlier as well. So that's it for now. I want you all to take care and be well. Thank you very much, Matt, for your kind comments. Again, really appreciate that from you and from everyone watching on both Instagram and on YouTube. The final score today from the Vic: Watford remain unbeaten going into November at Vicarage Road. You have to look hard to find a Watford manager who has done that. It's going to be a long, long look. I guarantee you that. Watford 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. Watford get to 7th place on 19 points. Keep a clean sheet. Good performances from a number of players. Festi Ebiseli, the You ORNS man of the match. And that is it for now. Until next Saturday, when we travel to Hillsborough to take on Sheffield Wednesday, it's Omar saying, subscribe on You ORNS WFC on YouTube, and follow on You ORNS WFC on X and Instagram, and like the videos on YouTube. Take care, everyone. See you next week.